Good news, everybody. This is Tech coming directly to you through the power of the internet via the YouTube video sharing platform. Another new detail has showed up on the official Nintendo website as pertaining to the Nintendo NX. According to Nintendo, the Nintendo NX is classified as a home gaming console. Which makes sense, and which doesn't make sense. Well, first and foremost, how it does not make sense is that the 3DS and the whole 3DS line is the older system of the two between the Wii U and the 3DS. So you would naturally expect that Nintendo would naturally update the handheld before the console. And historically, Nintendo has, as many YouTubers talk about, Nintendo usually does that. However, I like to respin it the other way. It's usually alternating. It's console, handheld, console, handheld, console, handheld, console, handheld. However, back to the other point, it would technically be the handheld this time. But the new Nintendo 3DS, is that the handheld update for this round, and that would then mean the next update would be the home console. Personally, I kind of feel that the new Nintendo 3DS is kind of underdone. Uh, I personally have an older 3DS. I don't have a new Nintendo 3DS, so I can see why Nintendo is not pushing the new Nintendo 3DS as hard as it could be pushed. However, I have come to the conclusion that from here forward, or actually 6 months or 6 or 9 months ago forward, the new Nintendo 3DS is definitely the preferred handheld platform in Nintendo side handheld gaming, because many of the newer games just push the older Model 3DSs to their limit and chug along and can't do 3D mode or anything like you use 3D on most of the games anyways, but it's already pushing the older 3DS to the limit. So it is, if you have an old 3DS like I do, it's pretty much time to update to the new Nintendo 3DS X. The new Nintendo 3DS LL or XL or whichever, the standard model. So it's well overdue for us gamers to move on to the next version of the Nintendo Handhelds, which is the new Nintendo 3DS. Which then, on that point of thought, means that it would be the home console this time as the upgrade. And for the strange reason, whatever, we kind of had to have it that way because the Wii U didn't succeed. This was pretty much, in my personal opinion, and several other YouTubers, the Nintendo Wii U failed simply because of Nintendo. Nintendo Wii U could have actually done well if there wasn't for just a few things here and there. First and foremost, most people kind of point out that the Nintendo Wii U should have been a little more powerful than it would be. Me personally, I don't care about power in my system. The Wii U does a good enough job as it is. What it would have been nice is if it didn't chug as much as it did on the menus, going back and forth between the games and other services. That would have been nice. But as far as besides the obvious thing where Nintendo didn't clearly market this as a new system, and people kind of had that, I'm not sure if this is the upgrade for the old Wii or a new system in itself kind of problem. My personal thought is that the Nintendo Wii U didn't have, well, many other people agree with this, but not to the exact point I do. Many people believe that Nintendo also didn't make the types of games that such a system would be good for. Uh, my personal feeling was that the Nintendo Wii U would have been awesome for games like Super Mario Maker. So imagine that Nintendo made Wii U more, made Super Mario Maker, Zelda Maker, Earthbound Maker, Metroid Maker. I just came up with four right there. So you release one each year. You got your 5 years or 4 years, and it would have been a good system for strategy games and a few others. So there. Uh, so the Wii U kind of died a little early, and that was simply just because Nintendo didn't market it correctly and didn't put the games that needed to make for the system on it. And even when Nintendo made games for the system, they didn't invest enough into that concept entirely. As for the Nintendo NX, there's many rumors of the names. There's been various suggestions for the system. There's been many rumors suggesting that the Nintendo NX may not be a cheapo system, but may actually be a powerhouse that could challenge or rival the PlayStation 4 Pro. But there we go. Uh, as we, as Nintendo has officially stated on its website, it is a home gaming console. So move in that direction. There may be a portable aspect to it. Uh, Nintendo did announce the Nintendo NX originally, when the first time the Nintendo NX was mentioned at the DNA press meeting, and it was referenced a few times momentarily in that as being part of the new My Nintendo account system, and it would be connected to various other things. So through that account system, it could be quite possible that it could link up to your Nintendo 3DS, and your Nintendo 3DS would double as a portable gaming system for your Nintendo NX, and kind of like what Sony did with the PlayStation 3, well, the PS3, PSP, PS4, PS Vita kind of thing, where you could link up your PSP to your PS3, and then they brought out the PS Vita, which then could link to the PS3, and then they connected it into the PS Vita, PS4, and then it just improved each one of those steps along. That Nintendo could be just simply making, here's a home console, this is the Nintendo NX or the Nintendo Duo, and then it can connect to your Nintendo 3DS and your smartphone apps, which is another rumor that is floating around, that the Nintendo NX actually, the portable component of the NX is actually the connection to your smartphone apps, which would be neat. Which then case I would mean I actually would have to seriously consider actually investing time in playing smartphone games, but I'm really not a smartphone game kind of person. Okay? Now, there's also been some older rumors before people kind of ran towards the hybrid concept of having a portable system that could plug into a TV or wirelessly linked to a TV and you play on the TV with this handheld system. There was rumors before that. Now I'm backing up. I'm also backing up to a older code system that Nintendo used before the announcement of the Nintendo NX, referring to as the Wii Fusion and the Nintendo 3DS Fusion. That there would be a home gaming system, and it would have a natural connection to the handheld system. So potentially, moving through various older rumors and actual old terms that were used by Nintendo staff and people who were actually connected to Nintendo long time ago, like in the early days of the Wii U and the 3DS, is that potentially, as I said before, there will be a home console, which is this one that's coming out, that's going to be announced tomorrow, and we will play games on the TV and everything else kind of the same, but it will have a sister system, a new handheld, or old handheld, and maybe the new Nintendo 3DS already. It may already be out, we don't realize it. And the home console system stands alone on its own. The handheld system stands on its own. But if you have both of them, you can link them up to each other and transfer save data back and forth between the two and use one as a controller for the other and all kinds of stuff. And you can stream things from your old system, your home console system, onto your handheld. And there's all those possibilities right there. This actually does have this theory of the two twin systems, home console system and then a handheld system, connecting to each other and communicating and being operatable as one or the other if you just have the home console or you just have the handheld. But if you have both, you can combine the two or use them together. Actually has a lot of validity, even to up to right now, because one of the patents that Nintendo has actually, I mean, seriously went after and has been working on tying up all the loose ends on is its supplemental computing device is patented, where you could have a box that connects to another box or the internet, or have various other devices connect into it to add processing power to the system or add processing power to another system. Okay? This could seriously be, and it most likely is, something in lines with what Nintendo's actually trying to do. They are trying to make a family, and I've talked about this before, and several other YouTubers have talked about this before all this hybrid handheld console, home console rumors started expanding, of the possibility that there could be a family of systems, handhelds, potentially smartphones. N64 Danny might really enjoy that point. And there could be a Nintendo phone. There could be a Nintendo tablet. There could be an NX. Let me re-clarify this: a Nintendo NX home console, and then Nintendo could come out with a Nintendo NX tablet, and then Nintendo can come out with a Nintendo NX smartphone, and then Nintendo can come out with a Nintendo NX home handheld console. And each one of these devices has their own games on them, but they all link or play or have versions on other systems of the same family. Something in along with the line of Android, and they can all just get along. And it's one big family. It's all based on the same core architecture, which is ties into the whole fact that Nintendo has combined its home console division and its handheld division into one and built into one room, one group of people, and that one group of people could build the standard that which could be used to make different it could be different pieces or the same standard for multiple devices in a family. And this could be the new way that Nintendo makes their systems. Tomorrow could be either the first system or step in this family, or the second system or step in this family. We will truly not know. However, it potentially might be stages as we go along. The Nintendo Wii U and the Nintendo 3DS may be the warm-up steps, and then there'll be the new home console that replaces the Wii U, which connects across all things, and then the new handheld will replace the old 3DS or the new Nintendo 3DS at some point further down the line, and that will connect to all things, and you'll just build up as it goes along. So it may just be all had a hard time thinking about that one. May all just be just a web of potentiality in there. Yeah, it's just kind of wandered off on that mentally. So the Nintendo NX, the system we see tomorrow could be potentially the dawn of a new family of systems that all share infrastructure. The question is, what exactly? Personally, I am really interested in seeing whether the rumors of it potentially being a powerhouse system, I mean a monster, and I'm curious as to what it would come out from that. Uh, do note that a lot of people who are still making fun home console mock-ups based around the rumor of this keep using disc media, and I kind of find that funny because a lot of the rumors kind of point to cartridges, and first and foremost, Nintendo loves cartridges. Nintendo would use cartridges over discs if they have an inkling that an inkling that it would actually work out. Let's see where it goes. And by the way, though, the positives of cartridges are many. The negatives are few. The negatives of cartridges way back in the day was they were more expensive and they didn't store as much information. The negatives of cartridges now is that they're more expensive. Now they store more information than discs can. Now, some of the rumors that we're talking about cartridges for the Nintendo NX when it was a hybrid handheld console, we're basically thinking along the line of a Nintendo 3DS game card or updated version, which would be a 32 gigabyte card. That'd be something about this big in cartridge. If Nintendo made cartridges this big, similar to the Super NES or the N64 in size, they could fit those EEPROM cards in there, those 32 gigabyte EEPROMs in there, and could get up to a terabyte easy. It's just all a matter of putting enough memory into the system for indexing for the cartridge and writing the operating system so it takes advantage of that, and boom, you have a system that a game that could come on a cartridge that is 2 terabytes, 3 terabytes, 4 terabytes, 5 terabytes, 6 terabytes, you could truly lead into the potentiality of what I like to dream of as game infinity. Uh, a lot of Nintendo's recent hiring bulletins, if you want to get a job working for Nintendo developing games, uh, they put up little bulletins here and there. I follow various accounts that post these regularly that Nintendo runs, and pretty much all of them kind of lean towards game worlds, open world games. Think Skyrim or Grand Theft Auto. Huge worlds where there's multiple complex interactions and all that kind of stuff. So it's clearly indicating through various channels that Nintendo wants to hire people who are experienced in making games that are huge, like with the similar construction to like Grand Theft Auto 5 and Skyrim and Fallout and so many others like that. So let's see where that potentially goes. Nintendo is looking to hire more people like that. Nintendo invested in Monolith and worked with Monolith on their development software for making worlds like that. And you could almost stop for a moment and think about this. You could think potentially that Xenoblade Chronicles X and Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild are first steps into Nintendo expanding into big, complex, open world gaming experiences. And Nintendo may potentially move more quickly into that territory as they gain more experience in developing their skill sets in that style of gaming. And Nintendo is pretty darn good at coming up with some innovative ideas how to make a genre or type of sandbox type of game much better. And I'm really interested in seeing what they're going to come up with when it comes to sandbox games. Uh, let's wait and see. And the good thing is, in a few hours, right now, as I'm talking on this video, it's 11:51 Central Time. In a couple hours, Nintendo will unveil the Nintendo NX, and we can start theorizing forth what will the next steps be. As I said before, my general prediction of Nintendo working on as for consoles is concerned is that they are potentially working towards bigger, more expansive games, which will lead to more advanced gaming systems. And then there's also seems to be, in the case of the Nintendo Network and My Nintendo accounts, more connectivity built into it for multiple different devices, which will potentially indicate, as well as with the patents Nintendo has seriously pursued. There's two things to note. You file a patent, and then after they've done research on it, you put money down on it, and then you go through the next few steps to verify and all kinds of other stuff that you do indeed want to have that patent in full. And Nintendo seems to be working towards a network of devices instead of a single device, and is working towards bigger, more complex games. So this could potentially lean towards so much other stuff. Potentially Nintendo releasing a serious gaming console against Sony and Microsoft. We have to wait and see. there seems to be a lot of inkling about that. I've kind of always, I'm not a power person myself, but I do realize that if Nintendo released a more powerful gaming system that didn't have its weird one-off oversight quirk defects, and I could make a whole video explaining each Nintendo system, how Nintendo basically specifically crippled itself with this one bad decision, and there's tons of videos on YouTube already about that. Uh, if Nintendo seriously decided to make a powerful system, and we all go and buy it, we might have another really interesting paradigm shift in the gaming console culture. And it is truly interesting in the potentiality that the Nintendo NX, if it is a power system, Nintendo said way back at the DNA meeting, when Nintendo announced that they were working with DNA, is that the Nintendo NX will be a new platform with a new concept. A new concept for Nintendo might actually be an old concept, and it's kind of echoed in the fact that Nintendo switched from its white and blue back to its classic red logo. Uh, Red was the common color for Nintendo in the Yamanashi era. That was basically the NES, Super NES, and the N64 leading into the GameCube. And then Shigeru Iwata came on in mid GameCube generation. And then we had the blue era, the blue-white era for Shigeru Iwata. What we may actually be witnessing is the return to a new red era of Nintendo. And the Nintendo NX could be perceived as potentially being a rebirth of the new red era, and this new era would follow from the original red era, the NES, the Game Boy, the Super NES, the Game Boy Color, and the N64, the Game Boy Advance, and the GameCube. A more serious focus on power and seriously competing against other companies. Nintendo has kind of slid away from that, but there's also, as I said, on the other sides of this whole thing, a potentiality that the new red era may be a rebirth of the old red era with some new stuff dashed in from the blue era. And I mean the blue era as the Satoru Iwata era, which is the end of the GameCube, the Wii, and the Wii U. I'm going to throw this video up quickly, and if you have any interesting thoughts about the whole thing as I come to ramble out, please put that in the comments below. If the YouTube spam bot filters catch you or something and says, "You're spam," and that is a spam comment, I will approve it because I'm not terribly interested in limiting people's comments, even though they sometimes seem spammy. If you want to like spam me, just go ahead, okay? I much rather prefer, though, you ask questions or come up with ideas or post your opinion about what I've said or what it may actually be. So, thank you very much for watching my video. If you enjoy it, please consider subscribing to this channel. I'm sorry that I don't upload as much as I should, but it's basically the end of summer into the fall, and as it is, I'm very busy most times in the late spring, summer, fall. But once winter rolls around, I get laid off, and I'm just producing a lot of videos and putting them up, and I'm finding out news quicker and faster and doing more things. So my activity level is gonna skyrocket. Uh, Also, please consider liking this video, and as I said before, posting your comment down below, saying what you think about all my little ideas and points and everything else. Whether you agree with me or disagree with me, I'm all good with it. Okay, we're just gamers sitting here talking about ideas, what we think about. Uh, Sometimes I disagree with some people about some things. Uh, if I'm wrong, and it turns out I'm wrong, okay, I'm sorry. Let's continue the conversation. Thank you very much for your time.